What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Today I've got 4 Am I the Jerk stories for you, starting off with this one involving an extremely controlling boyfriend who gets angry at his girlfriend for going live on TikTok. Am I the jerk for going live on TikTok in spite of my boyfriend telling me not to? I know it sounds really dumb, but I genuinely can't tell if I'm in the wrong or not anymore. For context, my boyfriend and I, we are 20 years old, have been together for almost a year. I have a decent following on social media, 200,000 on TikTok, even though I don't post much anymore. Recently, I decided to go live on TikTok to talk about the upcoming elections in my country. Now, I never go live, but I figured this was an important topic and I wanted to use my most popular platform to discuss it. I told my boyfriend beforehand, since it felt kind of embarrassing, and I wanted to update him on why I was about to do it. He seemed weirdly annoyed, but ultimately agreed. During the live, he kept messaging me in private to stop because weird men were flirting with me in the chat. Yeah, it's true. There were some men complimenting or trolling, but I didn't engage, and my mods and I were constantly blocking them. I also kept making comments like, if you comment weird stuff, you'll get blocked, to indirectly reassure him. At one point, I got a compliment on my eyebrows, and I replied with a quick thank you, then went back to elections. My boyfriend saw that and started to argue with the chatter, asking me in private if I knew him. Now, I didn't, but my boyfriend went on his profile and saw it was a guy. He had no profile picture and a random username, so I didn't know. He got really mad and the chat got crazy, so I stopped the live. I didn't answer my boyfriend's text right away since I didn't want to address it while live, but I reassured him in private afterwards. The next day, I decided to go live again, since it was the day before the elections. I was on FaceTime with my boyfriend when I told him, and he got more annoyed, saying he hates it when I go live, but that he doesn't care anymore, and I can do whatever. I knew he was upset, but I felt he was being unreasonable, so I went live despite his disagreement. 5 minutes in, he called me, saying he can't take it anymore, initially claiming it's indirect cheating because of the men in the chat, but then admitting he's embarrassed because going live on TikTok is low life and he can't have his girlfriend doing that. He also said I was negligent towards his feelings for not pausing or stopping the live to respond to his messages the other day. He felt disrespected because not going live was a small favour he asked, yet I chose to be selfish. I explained that I know TikTok lives are associated with cringe, but I wanted to use my most popular platform to speak on elections and encourage voting. I apologised for not responding right away the other day, thinking it was best to wait until I ended the live, given that I was at peak viewers and mid-answering questions about candidates, and it's rare that I use my platforms like that anymore. However, he still thinks I'm in the wrong, and I don't want to make him feel disrespected. So, was I being selfish for still going live? Am I the jerk? Okay, no doubt about it, your boyfriend is just horribly insecure and jealous. I mean, the stuff he's doing just makes no sense at all to me, and he just seems like a terrible person to be doing these sort of things. It's extremely controlling, extremely manipulative. He's also gaslighting you a lot as well. You know, if you've got 200,000 followers on TikTok, you can make some decent money from that. And, you know, who knows? You might want that to be a full-time job pretty soon. I mean, that's more followers than I've got on TikTok, that's for sure. So fair play to you. Him saying it's cringe and that, you know, people are just flirting with you and therefore that's cheating. What? You're just doing it because you're passionate about it and you want to speak about things you care about. It doesn't really matter if it's politics or whatever it is. You're doing it and you enjoy doing it. But he's saying, no, stop doing that. It's cringe. I don't think you're a good match for each other, but that's because I just don't think he's a good person. And also, like, especially on TikTok, but more just on the internet in general, there are always going to be creeps on these sort of platforms. I mean, if you go into any TikTok live with any girl, I mean, they don't have to be good looking, let's be completely honest. You will get a load of creeps. That's a bit harsh, but it is true. You just go in the comments, you just see there would be so many creeps. So it's always going to happen. It's sad, but it's true. So your boyfriend's just got to go. Now for our next post. Am I the jerk for reminding my friend that she married for intelligence and look where it got her? I am a 35-year-old woman, and I met my husband, Vince, who is 36, after he saved me from drowning at a pool party when I was 18. I took him out for lunch the following week to thank him for saving me, and we soon fell in love and began dating. Wow, what a way to meet someone. At the time, Vince worked a blue-collar job while I was studying in university. We ended up getting married, and Vince supported me throughout my entire education up until I got my PhD. Vince always told me that he wanted to study at university, but had learning disabilities that made it difficult for him to study in a classroom. At times, he was embarrassed by the fact that he had to work twice as hard compared to people around him, but I always found that to be admirable about him. When I finished my studies and got a well-paying job, I convinced Vince to convince his dream. That is wow, what a tongue twister. I'm leaving that in, just so you guys know that I do sometimes mess up. Convinced Vince, wow. All right, let me try that again. When I finished my studies and got a well-paying job, I convinced Vince to give his dream of studying another go. Last year, he was finally accepted into a nursing program at our local university. He's working hard to achieve his dream, and I'm incredibly proud of him. Last week, my friend Alba, who is 36, came to visit with her son so our children could play together. Alba was my roommate during my first year in university. She began dating her husband, Leo, around the same time I started dating Vince. Leo was an obnoxious law student who later on became an even more obnoxious attorney. He was a know-it-all who prided himself on his intelligence, which for some reason attracted Alba. At the time, Alba would sometimes tease me that I could do better than Vince, and would offer to set me up with one of Leo's law school buddies, but I'd always refuse, and she eventually dropped the subject. Alba and Leo are currently going through a nasty divorce that stems from him cheating on her. Quite frankly, he is dragging her through the mud and is using connections to try and leave her as penniless as possible. As we were chatting and catching up, Alba began to express concern over the fact that my eldest son, who is 7, was recently diagnosed with dyslexia. Alba began telling me how she's worried that my son will be academically challenged, like his father, and what that could entail for his future. Now, before I could respond, she told me how I should have married someone smart while I had the chance, so I would have kids like hers. Alba's son is an incredibly bright boy and a straight A student. I told Alba her advice was unnecessary and reminded her where marrying for intelligence got her. I then proceeded to tell her that I would rather have my son grow up to be an honest, hardworking person like his father than an academically gifted jerk who wasn't smart enough to know sleeping with his secretary could have consequences on his marriage like her husband. Alba was deeply hurt by what I've said and stormed out with her son. Some mutual friends are now chiming in and are telling me that I was too harsh on her for using her failing marriage to prove my point, and that I should apologize. Now, before I get into my thoughts about this one, guys, OP has given a little update. She says, I wanted to address a couple of things. Many of you asked in the comments why Alba and I remain friends despite her previous remarks. Alba and I grew apart during our 3rd year in university. We only remain friends by association since we have a lot of shared mutuals. We became close again after our sons started playing basketball together at the local community centre, and then became friends. I figured that becoming a mother made her more mature, and she didn't give me any reason to suspect otherwise. I've decided to send her a message saying that the way she spoke about my husband and son was unacceptable, and therefore she is no longer welcome in my home. However, I don't want our sons to lose their friendship, and therefore I am willing to remain civil around the kids and still organise playdays. She hasn't replied to me yet, but I truly hope she loves her son enough to put her ego aside and remain civil for the sake of our kids. I'm yet to notify Vince about the entire situation, since he's vigorously studying for an important quiz that's coming up next week, and I know that if he heard what Alba said about him and our boy, it would make him upset, and he wouldn't be able to continue studying properly. Unless something crazy happens in the meantime, I'll probably update him next week after he's done with the quiz. Okay, there we go. That is the update. No way, OP, you can possibly be in the wrong here. She said some pretty horrible things to your face about the people you love the most, and she's the one that is saying you need to apologize to me. I don't think so. To be honest, I think the reason that she is saying these things is because she knows that you're right, and that, yeah, she did choose a bad husband and you chose a good one. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. And also, hasn't her point been proved wrong by the fact that her relationship with her husband hasn't worked out and yours has, in that she's saying that you need to have a kid that's more intelligent? Well, do you really? Because are they gonna grow up to be a better person? Not necessarily. I mean, it sounds like your kid's just a nice guy, and who knows? Her kid could just turn out like her ex-husband. Don't get me wrong, I think there's nothing wrong with going for somebody because they're intelligent. That's an extremely admirable and attractive quality, but it's not the be-all or end-all, that's for sure. I think there are some things that are more important. I mean, we all know somebody who's incredibly intelligent, and we can never say they're not, but they're a dick as well. I mean, We all know somebody like that. Oh, and also, good luck to Vince on his quiz. Best of luck, my friend. Okay, now for our third Am I the Jerk post. Am I the jerk for telling my son I have no plans to motivate or support him after he is an adult? My oldest kid is a good kid, but kind of lazy. His mum has always protected him. She has her reasons. Her first husband and child passed away about 22 years ago. 2 years after that, we met, fell in love, got married, and had a kid. Unfortunately for me, our son's birth was a catalyst for a regression for her. He could do no wrong. If I tried to punish or even just correct him, she'd get upset and start crying or fight with me. If he found something difficult and I wanted him to work through it or try harder, she would step in and tell me to back off or actually just do it for him. This led to our divorce. I wanted to be a father, not a spectator. She fought so I wouldn't get custody. I ended up with visitation. My kid wouldn't do anything though. He wouldn't bring his homework over, and all he wanted to do was play video games. If I didn't let him, he had tantrums. It was exhausting, and she would always back him up. It was always my fault. I remarried to my wife, Diane. We have 2 children and are doing our best to raise them right. My son stopped coming over when he was 14. I still invite him, but he rarely responds. My child support just stopped. His mum has been giving it to him to do whatever he wanted for the last 3 years. Not my problem. But he just called me to see if I could help him with money. I asked what for. He said that his mum can't give him the allowance he is used to. I asked if he was going to be attending some sort of post-secondary school. He said no. So I told him to get a job. His mum has lost her mind. She said she would take me back to court so her poor baby can live his life his way. I wish for the odds to be ever in her favour, and I hung up. Is that... Okay, that's just weird because I'm rewatching the Hunger Games at the moment. By the way, a great set of books. And potentially an even better set of films. That's up for debate. Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, now that he is an adult, I never have to talk to her again. It's too bad because I loved her very much. Not anymore. My son asked me to help him find a job. I said I would. I told him to send me his resume. I've been waiting 3 weeks for it. He called me yesterday to see if I'd made any progress on finding him one. I said he never sent me his resume. He got upset that I hadn't reminded him. It was one thing. I told him that I wasn't going to motivate him to do anything, that I would be here if he needed help, but that it would never be money again. I let him come over and helped him with a resume. I also taught him about the trades or a community college. He's beginning to understand how effed his future is now that his mum cannot do everything for him. He's upset with his mother now because he doesn't have life skills. She is mad at me for showing him the truth. Okay, now this one is I actually think it's relatively controversial, and I think it's up for debate because of what has happened, OP, to your ex-wife in her life. I don't think that she can be blamed for the way that she has chosen to deal with and raise her son, your son. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, and it's not ideal for you to be in a relationship with someone who is parenting your child like this, because we can all admit, we know that's not the right way to raise someone or to parent someone. Just let them have everything. We know that's going to lead to them being extremely entitled and just a golden child that will have no motivation. But put yourself in her shoes. Of course she's going to baby him. Her husband and child passed away 22 years ago, and she's obviously still got that trauma with her, and it's going to be with her for life. I can't exactly blame her for being really protective over her kid, even though, and to be fair, I'm sure even she would probably say that it's not the best thing for him. She just wants to make sure that he has everything he wants, that he's alive, and that, yeah, you know, that he just lives a nice life, I suppose. Now, yeah, for you, OP, it's obviously not ideal, and I understand why this relationship didn't work out for you. And I agree, by the way, with the things that you're doing and saying to your son. It's also very nice that you're still there for him. But yeah, you can't just give him loads of money and then just get a job for him. That's not helping. But I just do feel bad for your ex-wife, is all I'll say. Now for our final post of this episode. Am I the jerk for calling out my sister-in-law in front of everyone when she wouldn't stop making comments about me trying to be a sexy baby? I am a 27-year-old woman. I am very short. I'm 4'9" and I'm under 100 pounds. I don't want to complain about being small, but there are a lot of people out there, especially other women, who will not take us seriously, are judgmental, make snide comments, assume attraction to us is nefarious, etc. A lot of comments that imply we're not real women. I'm used to it and I usually let it roll off my back. but there's a new one that's picked up momentum that I guess stems from a TV show where a girl is putting on a childish act and she says, "I am a very sexy baby," in a cutesy voice. And there's a lot more to it than you can just Google. Yeah, I won't be doing that, but if you want to, guys, be my guest. My sister-in-law Cassie has picked this up and has been using this against me. I can't wear a cute outfit without her coming down on me and chiding me for buying into the whole sexy baby thing when I'm just wearing an outfit. I'm just trying to be me. God forbid I wear a shorter skirt or bows or anything I think is cute. It's like I'm not allowed to wear cute or sexy things because I'm petite, so I'm automatically seen as trying to be a sexy baby when I'm not. I've asked Cassie to stop or drop it, and she maintains that I'm the one opening myself up to judgment and I should dress my age. This came to a head last weekend when we were in my auntie's backyard at the pool. I took off my wrap so I could hang with my feet in the pool with my cousins, and Cassie immediately said, "You're a very sexy baby," at me, and twirled imaginary pigtails. I raised my voice and I said, "That's a really weird thing to keep saying. What is your problem with me? Why do you keep bringing up that I'm small?" She started to turn red and yelled back again that I'm the one that's choosing to walk around looking like the, quote, sexy baby. I said that I'm literally just wearing a bathing suit, a one-piece halter, and I asked her what I should be wearing instead if that's such a problem. She yelled back that I should dress like a grown adult and to stop trying to cause a scene in front of everyone. I said whatever, and I just tried to ignore her. Later on, we ended up inside at the same time, and she came down on me for calling her out in front of everyone. I told her to stop trying to make me feel bad for being small. I didn't choose this body. She rolled her eyes and told me to grow the F up, and that trying to start trash with her is even more proof. I'm at a loss here, and I'm starting to just not want to be around my family because of her. It's not enough that I get this trash from women at work, at the gym, basically anywhere. Now it's in my family. So, am I the jerk for calling her out? Or even for just, I don't know, existing in my own body? No, of course not. You're absolutely not the jerk for this. And it's good that you called Cassie out on this, because if you didn't, who knows? This might have just carried on. Well, it definitely would have carried on, but it might actually have got even worse. So yeah, you had to say something. And to be honest, I actually hadn't ever really thought about this. Obviously, I'm not a small petite girl, as much as I potentially would love to be.
What do you mean by that?
But it's, you're raising awareness for these sort of people, and you might think I'm being sarcastic here. I'm actually not. I would never think about this sort of thing, but some of the stuff that you're saying about, just kind of being objectified because of your height and your size, I can understand it, but I hadn't actually ever thought about it. So yeah, I appreciate you actually saying that to somebody like me who that just hasn't really ever crossed my mind. So respect for writing this, and respect for telling Cassie to F off. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed these posts. Let me know in the comments down below, which one of these 4 do you think was the most jerky? Because I've said that none of them really are the jerks here at all, the original posts that is, but some of them I think are clearly, completely in the right, and some are a little bit more, I don't know, could be taken either way. Who do you think is the biggest jerk out of these 4? Not that there is one, but trending towards that sort of side. And who do you think is completely in the right? Let me know in the comments down below.